Hey, how's it going, guys? We are back with yet another reaction for the Book of Boba Fett. This time on to Episode 5, Chapter 5. Last time we had a fun one. We had a fun, very Boba and Fennec-centric one. Flashbacks showing how he rescued her after she was shot and took her to the modding station and got her some cool new abs of steel and whatever other kind of metals that Tatooine has in reserve. So he got her there, he got her repaired, and then recovered and everything, and then they actually worked together to get his ship back, to get the fire spray gunship called Slave One back from the basement of Bib Fortuna. um, so that happened, and then yeah, I think with the just like the flashbacks kind of focused on how they met, and then how they actually teamed up, and how they kind of went how Fennec actually kind of repaid her debt by helping him get his stuff back, and then in the end they actually decided, you know what, we make a pretty decent team. We make a pretty good team up. You know, we can both handle ourselves and we can both handle each other. So I think the like whatever room we walk into is clearly that much safer because we're going into it together, and we can definitely kind of get into some hijinks and shenanigans all by ourselves. So why not stick together? Why not stick together and make sure that this show is actually possible? So yeah, so we had that kind of stuff, and then I think even in the flashbacks, Boba kind of did kind of contemplate actually, he did talk about actually wanting to create his own house and his own kind of agency and his own service and everything, and then actually doing bounty hunting stuff his own way with some like-minded people, and then hoped that Fennec would be one of them. But then Fennec is still kind of like at least at the time, she was still under the mindset of actually wanting to be a private contractor and wanting to work her own cases and wanting to do her own thing, maybe with some assistance from the House of Boba Fett, but nothing much else in particular. But I think we've seen so far that I think even the present day we've seen, like she very much does kind of stay with him and stick with him, and actually does kind of stay by his side and actually kind of work alongside him and everything, and to great avail. So things clearly worked out either way. So that was fun. And then in the present day, we had what did we have in the present day? Let me actually go back and check that. What do we have in the present day? We had Black Chrysanthemum. He was recruited. Black Chrysanthemum was recruited after having been, let go by the twins. He tried to hang out at Garsafoot's place, but then apparently, I think he picked a fight with the Trandoshans, and apparently there's actually some age old kind of species war between the Wookiees and the Trandoshans, or at least between Black Chrysanthemum's kind of sect of Wookiees and I don't know if there are sects, but apparently apparently Black Chrysanthemum in particular is just is at least one of the Wookiees who has a problem with the Trandoshans, in like an actual kind of species slash racial race. There's actual racial tensions and species tensions between them. So that was why that particular fight took place. I had no idea, clearly. So that happened, and then Garsafoot tried to calm him down. Didn't work. He tore the dude's arm off, and then he was just kind of like angry and drunk and pissed off and all sorts of things. And then in the end, because of Garsa's kind of speech to try and tame him, including his history and his legacy as like a well-trained kind of fighter and like very much worth the muscle and the money. Boba had the smart idea of actually tracking him down and actually recruiting him. So now he's got that much more muscle to his side. So that's been cool. So I think now, I think with the Pikes being there to actually, try and run their spice trade through Tatooine and, potentially harming the rest of them in the rest of the kind of crime rings and, organizations and all the other kind of places throughout Mos Eisley and Mos Espa in the process. Boba and Fennec are both kind of gearing up for war as well to actually try and, send a message, like at the very least send a message, and then if not actually at the most kind of trying to shut down their kind of thing and then just forcing them to move elsewhere or whatever. So that's the whole thing that's happening, so that should be fun. And then at the very very end, we got the nicest, the sweetest, the most kind of glimpsiest of teases at the very end with Fennec kind of assuring Boba that with enough credits and with the right credits, then if you knew where to look and you had the right amount of credits, then you could hire. I mean, she said it much better, but I mean she kind of signified with the right pair of eyes and the right amount of credits, you could buy any muscle you wanted, and then that sweet western, space western theme, the Mandalorian theme, just kind of hummed in the background. So that was our biggest tease, that the Mandalorian, Din Djarin himself, could be returning to us in this. with this perfectly taking place after the events of The Mandalorian Season 2, so God knows what he's been up to since then, after having given up Grogu to the Jedi and everything, so hopefully he hasn't been crying too. I mean, he can cry, but I mean, hopefully he hasn't been, crying. I've seen plenty of fan art of people have drawn of, like, Boba and Fennec reuniting with Din, and then Din's just kind of wearing his helmet back on again, he's just kind of crying in the fetal position and just kind of pining over Grogu and everything, so unlikely that's how it's gonna be in this episode if and when he does show up. But we will see. We will see exactly what happens. So, if they get the Mando on their side, then they got like a whole group. They got the Used, they got Black Chrysanthemum, they got the Bodyguard twins, they got Fennec, they got Boba, they got Mando. I don't know if I already mentioned Mando, but it will be one hell of an army. And of course anyone else. I mean, he even told the captains, like, they had two choices: either actually fight with him and maintain their, part of Mos Espa and Isley and whatever, or stay neutral and don't side up with any, with either side, and then just kind of get what comes to them afterwards. So yeah, that is the plan. So yeah, that is pretty much all I've got from the last one. So on to episode number 5 of the Book of Boba Fett. So yeah, let's go. Oh, is this Boba? That's not Boba, is it? That's not. Mando! That's Mando! That's Din! They love doing opening scene reveals. Oh, he's back in his shiny, beautiful, silvery Beskar, and the hand rockets and everything. It's the Mandalorian. Oh, God. Oh.
That's not my business. I'm here to bring him in.
You can bring him in warm, or you can bring him in cold.
Let's discuss our options.
I can bring you in warm.
He said it. He's saying it. Oh god, oh jeez, oh yeah, bulletproof. He's got the Darksaber still! He still has the Darksaber! He kept it, I think, did he keep it in the season 2? My dude still got the Darksaber! Oh jeez, oh, did he cut himself with it? Oh no, that's not ideal. Okay, I guess, oh jeez, oh yes, oh god, Din, you beautiful beast! Oh. Sweet mother of space Jesus.
You all can help yourselves to whatever you think you deserve. From
Yeah,
your former
workers can take their share. I did not in any way expect him just to actually pull out the Darksaber and start doing shit with that. Oh god, oh jeez, okay, I am so ready for this. Return of the Mandalorian! Yeah, you're damn right, Mandalorian. Oh god, I'm gonna give myself a headache. If I keep jumping up around like this, I'm gonna give myself a headache. Oh boy, the return of the freaking Mandalorian. Is that a Halo? Like a Halo station or a Holo station, I think, whatever they call it? Like a ring planet? That's a ring planet, that's like in Halo. Yeah, but I think they've had it in Star Wars for a while too. That is so cool. Oh god, be careful, that is out into space, Din. That is out into space. That is out into frickin' space. You really couldn't find a better platform. Really. The Armorer! The Armorer's back! Okay, that's cool. The Armorer's back. Don't open it and activate it, whatever you do. It's dangerous.
All this talk of the Empire, and they lasted less than 30 years. Mandalorians have existed 10,000. Do you understand its significance?
The Mandalorian made
Whoever
lightsaber.
wields it can lead all of Mandalore.
Yeah.
If it is won by Creed in battle, then you may join our covert as we rebuild.
So he's gonna rejoin the Mandalorians.
The way.
This is the fucking way. Oh god, they're not touched. I don't even know if I can say nostalgia. It's not even been that long. Yeah.
Where did you come upon the Beskar spear?
It was the gift of a Jedi.
Ahsoka.
Block a
Ahsoka.
lightsaber.
Yeah, Ahsoka.
I used it to defeat Moff Gideon.
It can also pierce Beskar armor. Its mere existence puts Mandalorians.
With the spear can pierce Beskar armor.
Mandalorian steel is meant for armor, not weapons.
Or you can melt it down. Or give him like shin pads or something, or like thigh plates, so he can't start cutting himself with Beskar again. Or the Darksaber even. Oh, he has thigh plates. I don't know how that fucking is.
She once laid claim to rule Mandalore based purely on blood, and the sword you now
On blood. Oh, a bloodline.
was gifted to her and not won by creed.
Huh.
We would have not survived the Great Purge.
The Great Purge.
The Imperial interlopers destroyed all that we knew and loved in the Night of 1,000 Tears.
Phew. Whoa. Gee, that's like a freaking nuke. They just nuked all of Mandalore.
What shall I forge?
Something for a foundling.
A foundling.
This is the way.
Oh, for Grogu? Something for
Or a
Grogu?
specific foundling.
Ah, for Grogu when he gets him again. For Grogu.
No longer in your care.
What can you make a baby? Like, he's a child still. He's actually a child. Like, what kind of thing can you make for a baby? Like a necklace, maybe? Like a... I don't know. If you can really give him armor. Or chains, maybe? Give him chains. Oh, it's a little wrapped up in like a little... Oh, that's so cute. That's so cute.
Solus.
Solus. Had.
I.
Ein.
Pure.
Sure. Whoa, dude.
Fighting against the blade.
Oh, he damn well fell off the platform. I think he has a jetpack. How much more powerful is the Darksaber compared to regular lightsaber? Like, is it connected to the wielder's, like, stuff like the wielder's mind and spirituality or whatever? Oh, she bonked him. She bonked him.
It was forged by my ancestor, founder of House Vizsla.
Oh yeah, Tara Vizsla. Tara
Now it
Vizsla.
belongs to me.
And now I will win it from you.
Oh dang. Oh dang. Going up against someone who actually has inheritance to it. Oh, jetpack's off. Jetpack's off. Okay. Okay, you better not fall off the edge this time. This guy healed you and now he's gonna fight you? That's some really turn of the tables type shit. Oh, he's got a hand shield. Oh boy. Oh, jeez. Come on, fight the opponent of the blade. Fight the opponent. Oh. Oh, God. Oh. Oh. Okay, Paz, you used to be buddies. You used to be buddies. Oof. Oh, he's still got the dagger. He's still got the dagger.
Has it ever been removed by others?
Never.
This is the way.
Oh, but Din has.
Jaren, have you ever removed your helmet? Have you ever removed your helmet?
He has a bunch of times.
I have.
He has.
Then you are a Mandalorian no more.
He gets rejected just
I
like...
beg you for your forgiveness.
One may only be redeemed in the living waters beneath the mines of Mandalore.
So he has to be baptized or something?
Mines have all been destroyed.
This is the way.
Oh, for fuck's sake. So his only option was like a rebaptism in the waters of Mandalore. Is he really no longer a Mandalorian? He has to leave now? Oh, so that's it then. Because he removed his helmet, he's no longer a Mandalorian. I mean, those are the rules, I guess those are the rules, but still. Oh, Din Djarin is no longer Mandalorian. The only people he ever truly had, and now he, you know... I mean, he did it knowing the consequences. He knew removing his helmet would have those consequences, but still. I guess now those consequences finally... no, he has to unload his weapons into the box. Damn, leaving the Darksaber in a freaking commercial box. A blaster. Oh, each of his little hand rockets. Yeah, the little thingies, whatever they are. Oh yeah. Oh yeah, so many weapons. It's like in Edge unloading all of her knives in Shadow and Bone. Yeah, just, you know, knives in each sleeve and pocket and crevice and everything. Just everything. Even the Darksaber.
I know everything that's in there.
Yeah. Yeah, you better not lose any of that shit. Especially the saber. Better not be losing it. Yeah. Kids just being flabbergasted by you. Hey, buddy. Oh, it's even in... Oh, I just noticed that. It's even in... Like, it's actually shaped like his tiny little ears, too. I just noticed that. I just clocked that. Oh, I thought that was Wally for a second. It looks so much like Wally. That thing looks so much like Wally. Just... Oh, she's back. Oh, jeez, I just threw my cable. Oh, she's back. The mechanic. Yeah. The mechanic.
Message? What message?
You said you found me a replacement for the Razor Crest.
She got him a new ship.
That's what I said. That's what I do. I've been working my butt off. Right this way. I'll wait till you get your eyes on this.
Oh, what kind of ship does he get? This is it.
Where's the Razor Crest?
I never said I had a Razor Crest.
A replacement.
I
Yeah.
had a replacement for a Razor Crest.
This is what you...
I don't have time for this.
Do you have any idea what this is?
A speed racer.
This is an N1 starfighter, handmade for the Royal Guard and commissioned personally by the Queen of Naboo.
Ah, the Queen of Naboo.
It's a
Okay.
pile of junk.
Do you want your credits back?
Yes.
Yeah, a refund.
Wasting up my gifts.
A refund.
Right? While we're waiting, can I tell you a little something about this, honey?
Of course, yeah.
I know
Just...
she doesn't look like much, but you got here a lot earlier than I expected, and I didn't get a chance to finish. I mean, clearly you can see I've got all the parts right here. Because this baby's pre-Empire, she's off the grid.
Ah, off the grid, just like the Razor Crest, right?
With no docking ring?
It's hard to replace something like the Razor Crest, yeah, unless you got like a Millennium Falcon lying around.
I gave him a list.
Of parts.
Yeah.
And they find them for you.
Wait, the Jawas work for her?
They don't tell. They get me what I asked
Ah.
for. In exchange, I let them pick through my dumpster.
Oh, okay. So actual cooperative Jawas? Cooperative Jawas?
Needed a jowl for a
That's a
while.
thing?
They're quite furry. Very furry. They said make a wish list and they'll see what's
A
available.
wish list,
They're
yeah.
mostly bolt-on
A wish
and
list.
speed mods.
Parts you want, the specs you need, and I'm gonna make it work, alright? I dated a Jawa.
So you mentioned, yeah.
You hit this button, you're gonna evacuate your exhaust manifold, if you know what I mean.
Not entirely, but you know what, I'm gonna roll with it. I'm rolling with it.
Thanks, little guy.
A helpful Wally. A helpful Wally.
Everyone's afraid of them, and law enforcement won't even go near them.
That's why you gotta team up with Boba and your old pal Fennec. Not Fennec. Look at that shiny ship. Look at that shiny ship. That one's missing a cover, but it's okay. Yeah, that engine is missing a cover, but it's okay. That is so cool. It looks so... Again, it looks really snug. It looks a lot more snug than what he used to have, but it's something. It is something. Oh god, the Mandalorian theme on the violin. Beautiful. Beautiful. Oh god, I have a bad feeling about this.
She handles a little bumpy.
You're used to a gunship, but she's a starfighter.
That's-
A flyer like me.
Yeah, that's true. This is a very different ship than he's used to dealing with. Oh, that's fast. Oh, that's fast. That is very fast. Yeah, that is very fast. Oh boy. Oh boy. Oh boy. Oh, horizontal or vertical even. Horizontal. I don't know. Oh, see, all these are tight turns.
Tight.
Yeah.
Acts like a rail speeder.
Yeah, these are tight turns. Yeah, but we've seen how bad guys in these ships fare. They don't fare very well. Ah, that's cool. That's really cool. Do the guns on board the ship work? Like he hasn't really, been given enemies to fire at yet. But do the guns on board work? Oh no, beeping. I don't like the beeping. What's the beeping? Oh, X-wings. Oh shit, the Republic.
Relinquish your flight controls for remote control access.
Oh
Hold on
god.
a second there, Lieutenant. I think we can let him off with the warning.
Oh, is it the other guy? Is it the other guy? Is it the guy we know?
I'll have
Is
that
it the guy we know?
taken
Is that the other the new Republic pilot we know?
One thing before you go.
It's him! It's him! Yeah.
care of. I think you have the wrong guy, officer.
That ship showed up on a transponder log back in Navarro.
Oh, is he gonna super speed away? Oh, there he goes. Off he goes. Away he goes. Yeah.
How did it jump?
Yeah.
He didn't power up his hyperdrives.
Yeah.
Jump, kid.
Yeah.
Those were his sublight thrusters.
Oh, it's good to have him back too. It's good to have that guy back. Yeah.
Oh, by the way, an old friend of yours dropped by, said she was looking for you.
Fennec.
Don't
Fennec.
worry.
She tell you her name?
Fennec Shan.
Ah, she's still here. She's still here.
I thought you said that the Hague security system.
She's still here.
Get away from me.
Mando and Fennec reunited.
Pay is good.
The pay is very good.
What's the bounty?
And for good and with good people too.
We need money.
They're gearing up for war, Mando.
He sure would appreciate it.
Tell him it's on the house.
Oh, it's on the... Oh,
First,
they're best buddies now. They're BFFs.
I gotta pay a visit to a little friend.
Yeah. Bryce Dallas Howard! Bryce Dallas Howard directed this. Oh, God. God, she is so good. She is so good. She is so good. Bryce Dallas Howard is so good. She's good with her episodes on The Mandalorian, and she's good with this Mando episode of the Book of Boba Fett. Oh, I love that. Oh, God. I love that. I love that so much. I love that beyond what words can describe accurately. That was so good. Pedro Pascal. Emily Swallow, the armorer. Yeah. Oh, good God. Yeah, that was so good. I loved that to absolute bits and pieces. Okay. Wow. And last of all, wow. Just, okay, yeah, easily one of my favourite episodes of this entire series show so far. Easily one of my favourite episodes, and I think it's easy to see. It's easy to see why at least just a little over half of the fandom and half the audience would kind of feel that way. Like, you know, it feels kind of weird to say. It feels weird. It feels so obvious. I mean, in certain ways, it can feel so obviously weird to actually say, like, you know, oh, my favorite episode of the entire season is the one where the actual title character isn't even in it. Like, it actually brings in. The spin-off show brings in a character from the main show, and then all of a sudden, like the episode becomes. It feels weird to say, and it's like, you know. Me, I've been loving I've been loving Boba so far as well. I've been loving Boba Fett to bits and pieces. I've loved what they've done with his character, like how they've kind of expanded upon him, the kind of like arc they've given him, and the material they've given him. I've loved it. I've loved it from the very beginning. But when I see my boy Din Djarin, when I see the Mando, the Mando, King Mando, literally walking through curtains on screen. When I see the opening scene being him walking on screen, brandishing his, you know, fine self and just doing everything he does, I just can't help. I can't help. You know, luckily enough, it turned out that the entire episode. I think I expected like at least like the last 10 minutes. I mean, they brought in Fennec Shand to make that kind of Book of Boba Fett connection as well. Kind of makes sense, but I think it's like, you know, you would like it. You would have liked it to like if they actually brought Boba in for that too, like have Boba personally asking Mando for that too, because I think they've worked together before. They've communicated together. They've communicated. They've interacted. They've been together before. So I think, you know, like it wouldn't be impossible to see. But then I feel like on the other hand, whatever team up they've got. Whatever kind of team-up content they've got planned for the finale must be mind-blowing compared to what we've seen in this episode. So that must be something that we get, you know, like a bucket of gold's worth of in the actual finale compared to this episode. So, you know, I think nowadays I have to actively prepare myself to be flabbergasted and to be gifted with such kind of content in the actual opening scene itself. Like the opening, like I did not expect it to be like an opening scene thing. I thought he might show. I thought it might be like you know, I think the common theory was that, but like we'd actually see Boba and Fennec actually going out of their way to actually try and find Din themselves and actually having him do that. And I think most people thought it would be like a quick cameo at the end or in the middle or something, and then he'd be doing a thing. But no, we got like an entire we essentially got what could have been like the Mandalorian season 3 episode 1 here. Like we got like you know, I think in the same way, I think this could easily be like a prelude too. This episode alone could easily be the prelude and the actual kind of scene, the episode that actually kind of leads into whatever the hell. Because the stuff that went on in here definitely kind of sets things up and changes things for the future of the Mandalorian too. So this could easily be seen as episode 0, and then episode 1 is when season 3 actually starts and everything. So yeah, just the amount of Mandalorian stuff we got in this episode was nothing short of a gift, and yeah, and again, I think for me, it doesn't change the Book of Boba Fett in any way. I think it adds on to what makes what's made the season so great. I think this and episode 2 might be my favorites. I think episode 4, I really did enjoy that. I think I actually really enjoyed that because of like the Boba and Fennec stuff. But this one, in terms of actual character driven kind of content, I think. Not to say episode 4 wasn't character driven. I think that one included too. But I think if I had to pick just 2, then yeah, I think I'll throw episode 4 in the 2. I think because of Fennec, I can never discredit Fennec. I can never deny Fennec. Because of that, episode 2, 4, and this one were my favorites of the season because they actually kind of brought like the character to light and actually gave them some really great stuff. And of course, this one, Mandalorian. So. It came up, and it affected him in like a pretty impactful way. But we didn't have Din taking off his helmet at all. I think he learned his lesson from the last time. I think he especially knew being on the armor and taking his helmet off just would never really go down. And I think, honestly, for me, it's like with the armor too. It's like I feel like if I didn't know Emily Swallow was playing the armorer, I honestly. I probably like. I think if I didn't look in the credits, or if it didn't show up in the credits, or if it didn't actually, if I never tried to look it up, I honestly probably would never tell that it was actually Emily Swallow playing the armor, because I think her voice, like I think intentionally so, seems that different, and she's actually actively delving into like an entirely different role compared to what I've seen her as Amara on Supernatural or something. So. Props to her for actually being able to, create and cement a different character that well and that fluidly and everything, and actually being able to fit into the armor as well that well. She's a great armorer. She's a fantastic armorer. But I think without looking it up, or like if they didn't include the names in the credits for whatever reason, I think I probably would it would probably take me like a lot longer to know. I think the tone of voice is kind of similar. The tone of voice is like kind of reminds me of some of her work on Supernatural. But I think other than that, it's like tones can easily be replicated and be kind of forged and everything. But then the actual actor's voice themselves is pretty unique to them, so that was crazy. But honestly, the thing is, in this episode, there were some scenes and some shots where I literally thought, okay, now we're gonna cut away from the Mando-centric stuff, and then Boba and Fennec are gonna come around the corner, or they're gonna save him, or they're gonna meet up with him in some way, and then it's gonna go down that way, and then the rest of the episode might then be Boba and Fennec and Mando, or it might just be Boba and Fennec. But no, it wasn't until the very, very end that stuff happens. So, there were so many shots and so many scenes and so many different kind of cuts that I thought, okay, this might be the perfect time for them to swoop in around the corner and reintroduce themselves and actually set up that whole kind of partnership that they need to reignite again for the war against the Pikes and everything. But no, it just didn't happen. So half the episode was just me wondering, okay, when are Boba and Fennec actually going to show up and recruit him and everything? But no, I mean, again, not that I was waiting for the Mando stuff to end, but then it's like, again, several kind of different angles and different kind of tones and shifts and everything happened, and I was just kind of waiting for them to kind of end that off in a way that seemed appropriate. But then it's like, no, even more Mando content right up to the very end. So, but oh my god, the opening scene, I honestly don't know if they could have actually done an opening scene with Mando returning any better than they actually did. And again, Bryce Dallas Howard doing this one. Bryce Dallas Howard doing the Mandalorian episode as well is honestly one of the most fitting things I can imagine for the actual Mandalorian returning episode. So she did a fantastic job. Just wow. Just wow. Again, just wow. Just that 3-letter word just kind of sums up almost everything for me. Just wow. So yeah, but that opening scene. So he is back doing a bounty again. He actually took out the little kind of tracker fob thing he has there that Grief Karga gives him. Grief Karga, I remembered his name this time. Grief Karga, the bounty hunting kind of manager chief dude played by Carl Weathers and everything. So I mean there was no mention of Grief, but I do kind of want to safely assume that he might be working for him again, like he might have a main, because I think. He only mentioned Navarro later on when he was talking to Paz Vizsla, actually saying, thank you for saving me on Navarro, and I think that might have been when he revolted against the other bounty hunters and actually, stole Grogu, took Grogu away and actually did the whole thing, and then the other Mandalorians came and helped him and fought off the other bounty hunters and everything, so I think that might be what he was referring to, but yeah, I think other than that, but I mean, even I think by the end of season 1, I think they'd already kind of him and Grief had already reestablished an actual kinship, and season 2 featured a pretty solid kind of friendship between them. So I think there's no reason he would make that he would have anything against Grief now. I think the fact that he's bounty hunting again does kind of go to show that, you know, like, he may as well have actually gone back to Grief now, because I think his life before Grogu was bounty hunting. It's really the only other life he knows, so I think that's the one he's comfortable with, and he's worked with Grief, he trusts Grief, and him and Grief have a great kind of professional kind of relationship together, so that's already a thing. So, you know, like, no mention of him specifically, but I think it's kind of like, it is, I think they are kind of trusting the audience to kind of know enough about the Mandalorian's history to know exactly what he might be doing and what he may as well be doing with that, and I think the kind of the tracker fob thing is enough of like a hint to know, okay, so he's back bounty hunting again, and he's also still friends with Grief Karga, so, you know, logic would kind of dictate, oh, they must have kind of kick-started their thing back on Navarro again, maybe back on Navarro, maybe somewhere else, either way, they're just kind of doing their thing. And I can't even lie, I actually honestly love how much he looks like a knight in shining armor. Like, his Beskar is some of the shiniest shit I've ever seen in my life, especially on a TV show. You know, I think he has like a breastplate again. I don't know if it was just me seeing things, but I think in some shots and some angles, like the lower half of his breastplate seemed a little less polished. But I think it could just be me seeing things. But he has the breastplate. I think he has the gauntlet as well, because I think one of them actually has the kind of servo rockets actually attached to it. And I think so he has the gauntlets. He has the shoulder pads. He has the helmet, the jetpack. He has the breastplate. He has the thigh kind of shins and the kneecap shins and the shin pads, and I think maybe I don't know if he has boots, but, you know, I think more major areas, I think, you know, exposed areas of his actual body are minute. The exposed areas of his body that aren't completely covered in Beskar, because I think he's not wearing like a full bodysuit of Beskar, but I think, you know, the exposed areas are pretty minute and everything, so most of his body is covered in little kind of slabs and little kind of, you know, portions of Beskar, so the way this opening scene emphasized that too, like, I think him walking into the room too, like, the light just kind of bounces off of him so elegantly and so, you know, like, glamorously, and like, he again looks like a fucking space knight in shining armor, which I love. That is exactly who Din Djarin is to me. He's a space knight in shining armor, and he's had a son, and he misses his son so dearly, and everything. So that happens. So then even once the actual fighting started, like, all of them actually trying to like fire blaster shots off of him, but then he's just kind of ducking and dodging, and even then the blaster shots are actually bouncing off of his head and bouncing off his jetpack and off his thing. So, like, you know, he is using his armor to his full advantage. He's actually just, you know, blocking shots and, you know, being, you know, impervious to all those things. But then the real kicker, I honestly couldn't even remember if he actually did. I honestly couldn't remember what he did with the Darksaber in the season 2 finale. I think the last thing I remembered was then that he did win it in combat from Moff Gideon, but then apparently because that's the rule now that there has to be one in combat. I think it was made in a way. I think it was actually forged in a way, and under under the kind of rules that it had to be one in combat. And if it wasn't one in combat, and then but then was also falsely claimed to be so, then, you know, whoever wielded it would actually bring destruction and the fall of their own kind and their own creed behind them and everything. So to be wielded under a legitimate claim, it had to be one in combat and everything. So yeah, so then because then that meant that he couldn't just give the Darksaber to Bo-Katan. You know, he couldn't just give it to her, like she had to fight him and win from him in combat. So then I think, you know, based on what he did to Moff Gideon too, I think you know, I think it did kind of have people, including me, just kind of questioning, okay, so maybe what if she actually does defeat him in combat, but the same way that, you know, he defeated Moff Gideon, so then maybe he like she doesn't actually kill him, but she just kind of disarms him, and then that whole kind of thing happens. So then but now this time so then not only did he keep it, but this time now he keeps it on his person. He fights with it. We saw that one of the sexiest fight scenes Star Wars has ever given us. Din Djarin with the Darksaber taking down Klatooinians and him busting out the Darksaber like that. I thought, God, I honestly can't. I squealed and screamed so much during this episode. There was just so much that was just wow, just easily, just like I think you know, just easily like it being a Mandalorian centric episode alone is just amazing. But then it like the things they did with it, the things Bryce and everyone and Pedro and everyone actually did with it was just so on point and so well delivered and everything. It's just honestly just, It just hit every spot. It pretty much hit every spot. So it really worked. So yeah, so he had the dark saber. And he cut himself with it too. I think there's like a slight nudge from his opponent actually. Then and like ended up actually tapping the dark saber into his into his thigh, into the exposed part. So again, minute. But then I think like the dark saber itself is more of like a blade, because I think the lightsabers are more somewhat kind of like cylindrical and like little kind of poles of light, whereas the dark saber is like an actual blade of like darkness and everything, like the inverse of like an actual lightsaber, but then it's actually like an actual blade as well. So I think that one is like a more finite kind of like, I think it's easier to actually get kind of like missed out by that blade. So I think slight nudge from the opponent, and then the kind of dark saber kind of bumped against his thigh, but then that kind of cut through him and it injured him and everything. So that was the whole thing. But regardless, that fight with the dark saber too, and he just literally sliced that dude in half, and then took his head, and then he was slicing other dudes in half and slicing their body parts, and he was just slicing and dicing with the dark saber. Just that was the best Mando opening I could ever ask for. That was some really top notch stuff. So yeah, just wow, Din Djarin with the dark saber, a sight to behold. Yeah, I mean, Mandalorian is being a Mandalorian is said to be a religion. Like he even said to the actual kind of the airport. I mean, don't know if you can even count it as an airport, like a spaceport droid. He even told that thing that I'm a Mandalorian. Weapons are part of my religion, and I think with the Mandalorian. With the Mandalorian religion, I think it's like it's a creed. You swear the oath, and I think you protect one another. You stick with one another. You never take off the helmet, which he did way too many times. But who's complaining? But he did that, and then I think weapons too are part of his religion. So I think he has weapons. I think like being able to defend oneself and then defending other people too. So actually being on the offensive in order to defend and everything like that's part of his religion. But then the Mandalorian religion itself, I mean, I'm wondering if it's just that, or if because I don't know if they've ever mentioned any kind of higher deities before that they actually that they worship, or any other kind of higher rules. I think they worship the creed that is whatever it is, and you never take off the helmet and you stick by one another, and that this is the way and everything. But whether that's all there is to it, or if there's actually some other kind of some other kind of entity that they actually kind of worship or kind of like pay acknowledgement to, I do not know. So I mean, it's always something I've been kind of curious of, and I think I know Mandalorian history exists in other media and stuff stuff. So I can easily go look it up. But just like a question that had been raised in my head, so I thought it was worth asking. But yeah, no, I think Mandalorian religion is seems super cool. So yeah, and I thought I think so. Yeah, Din is he is. I think it's undeniable. I think several points throughout this episode kind of showed just how much he's missing Grogu, like just how much he's missing him, just how many different things actually remind him of it. Like he met Grogu through this job too. If he had never been a bounty hunter, if he never became a Mandalorian, then he likely would have never met Grogu either. So I think so many things he encountered in this episode actually reminded him of Grogu and everything. So I think I'm also wondering if he's actually gone back to bounty hunting too. If he's gone back to bounty hunting too, just to keep himself occupied, just to keep himself so that he has something to do, and he can take his mind off of Grogu even for a little bit. Because then when he's doing a mission, he's got to focus on the mission, and he's got to do that and nothing else. So that kind of thing comes into play. So it's easy to see. Din is hurting. He is hurting. I think I think he feels, and he keeps on telling himself that he did the right thing by giving Grogu up, because then Grogu needs to go to the place that's best for him and best for his abilities. But then you can't deny that deep down he wishes that place were with him. Deep down he wishes that place were with him, or that he could have gone with Grogu, and that the rules around Jedi kind of religion weren't so strict, and that he couldn't actually have to be apart from him, or that or that he could somehow kind of train him himself, or not train him himself, but that he could train him but not have to be apart from him, so he wouldn't have to give him up to someone else, but then he could actually still kind of carry on and stuff with him, or that he just could be with Grogu. But I think a more mature part of him might know that one day perhaps Grogu's training is gonna be complete, and he's gonna make it to being Master Grogu, like an actual Jedi Master, and then one day Grogu will become come to that point in life. But then the other terrifying thing is that Grogu is that small and he's that age. Yoda, I think Yoda lived to be 900 or something. I think 900 or 1,000 or something. Yoda lived to be fucking ancient pretty much. So with that thing, I think with I think Din is like a Mandalorian, but I'm pretty sure like like Mandalorian is also like Mandalore is just another planet full of like humans or like that kind of like like Homo sapien kind of species and everything. So because of that, I think like his aging is clearly gonna go a lot faster. So by the time Grogu becomes a freaking Jedi Master, Din might be dead, or he might just be like an old ass man. So by the time, if that is the only way for them to reunite, by the time they do reunite, it's gonna be years ahead, and Grogu's gonna be all grown up, and then Din's gonna be like an old man, and always gonna be dead, and he's never gonna see him again. I don't want to think about it. I don't know why I care. I don't know why I had to actually. I don't know why I forced myself to process that information. Like, it didn't bring me anything but pain. So I don't know why my mind would make me think of things that only bring me pain. So I don't know why I had to come up with that. But still, it's like I guess it's a valid and worthy kind of point to bring up. But that could be the plotline for season 3 too, actually maybe reuniting them, or actually kind of having Grogu do something so that he can reunite with Din, or because I think Din definitely does respect Grogu and his future too much to interfere with any Jedi training. So because of that, I think he's gonna seek him out to give him the gift. But besides from that, I think I'm not really sure. I think he said I want to see him just to make sure he's safe. So he does miss him, and he does want to quickly pop in and see how Grogu's doing and reunite with him just for a little bit. But besides from that, he knows he can't stay with him. He knows he can't be with him. He knows he can't, be around for too long. So little chit chats here and there are the best he can do. Are the best that the Jedi can actually offer him for now. So I fucking hate this. So yeah, hate what my mind is doing to me right now. Hate it with a passion. But yeah, no. So yeah, I think Din is also just kind of keeping himself occupied by being a bounty hunter again, actually kind of giving himself things to keep his mind on other things. And then I think because that he also keeps like a healthy enough balance too, like so he's not spending the entire time thinking about Grogu and nothing but Grogu, but then like periodically he does think about Grogu and he does miss him in like a slightly more healthy kind of way, but then on the other times he does kind of focus more on the job, and he does kind of also he does need to eat, and he actually does need to make money and everything to live. So he then goes back to his actual job, and then he actually becomes a bounty hunter and everything. So yeah, that's fun stuff, isn't it? That's some really, really fun stuff. And I think we also got some like nice enough kind of Darksaber content in this episode too. Some I think like re-establishing some Darksaber history with Tara Vizsla. Tara Vizsla being the ancestor to Paz Vizsla. I think even with them having the same last name, I still didn't actually put that together. I still didn't really. I think maybe internally I just thought, oh, that's a funny little coincidence, they both have the same last name. But then no, he actually said, this actually, he said, oh, this belongs to my house Vizsla, to my house Vizsla, and then I was like, Vizsla, oh yeah, because you're Paz Vizsla, and then he was Tara Vizsla, and oh yeah, it's your ancestor. So he ownership and claim over the Darksaber is literally in his bloodline. So one hell of a one really cemented kind of claim to make. So definitely kind of the claim itself did kind of work out in his favour, even if the actual end result didn't. So there was that. But yeah, the Darksaber was forged. So Tara Vizsla was the first Mandalorian to be inducted into the Jedi Order 10,000 years ago, and as for him being the first Mandalorian to be a Jedi, he took the liberty of forging his own lightsaber, or the Darksaber. So then, yeah, so he like him being the first Mandalorian, I think he also made it so that he didn't necessarily make it so that only Mandalorians could wield it, because then Moff Gideon, who could not be father from Mandalorian, he wielded it, perfectly. But official kind of claimage over. More official and legitimate claimage over the Darksaber can only happen at the hands of a Mandalorian, but anyone else can really pick it up and use it, but then it's only really like a legit kind of ownership and wielding if you're actually a Mandalorian who also won it in combat against your opponent. So there's that whole thing. So they did this. They established those rules too. I think they re-established those rules. So there's that. But then I think even in that kind of training scene with the armor too, I think when Din was actually struggling to lift up the Darksaber and actually use it to fight against the armor too. And she was even saying stuff like fight your opponent, don't fight the Darksaber, fight with the Darksaber, fight against your opponent, and then use your energy to do that kind of stuff. Like the way she was talking there, like her choice of words and the way she was kind of talking there, kind of made me wonder, Could there be a thing where it's like, I mean, I don't know if this applies to lightsabers too, but like could there be, because I think it works with the Force. I think it works with the Force, but then because that's more like a spiritual kind of energy thing that, you know, they have to train years to master and to actually get like an accurate hold on, be it light side or dark side. Although I think with dark side might be easier to grip, because then, you know, because then if you do ever experience negative emotions, then you just have to kind of lean into them and then become one with the dark side. But then with the light side, you have to actively push away all anxieties and fears and master self-control and determination. So, you know, all the good stuff, all the good guy stuff, you got to actually, again, you got to work hard for. But then the bad guy stuff is easy to, like, you know, you just give in to everything, you know, you feel at any given point, and then you can almost easily become a bad guy. So, you know, or even a good person doing the wrong thing. So yeah, but I think it works that way with the Force. But then I definitely don't know if it actually works this way with the lightsaber. But then even the way that she was describing working with the lightsaber with the dark saber, I'm wondering, could there also be a similar thing where, like, you know, you're like your connection to the actual weapon is what, like, you know, kind of powers your ability to use it, or like actually aids in your ability to use it. Because I think, you know, like lightsabers themselves are actually not fully up to date on exactly how the construction works. I think there's like the hilt, and there's like a kyber crystal inside, and there's like some kind of energy and all sorts of different kind of technical kind of stuff, and then some actual alien tech going on, and then the actual lightsaber comes out, and there's the color and everything. I think, you know, don't know exactly what the connection between the color and the owner is, like if they get to choose the color, or if the color chooses them, or if there's like some kind of significance with the color. But, you know, I am curious as to whether or not like there's actually any kind of actual kind of spiritual or kind of like special kind of Jedi or Sith connection to, like, between the wielder and the weapon, wherein the, you know, like that makes it easier for the person to fight with the lightsaber or even the dark saber. I think it's especially with the dark saber too, because it's like, I think it's pretty much like the only one of its kind. So then you'd have to really know how to use it, and also I think, you know, and because the dark saber comes with its own kind of special kind of, you know, shitload of baggage and history that kind of makes it all the more complex and complicated to use, and it comes with its own legacy that you're essentially adding on to if you ever do fight to wield it or fight for it or something. So that would be the case for the darksaber at least, and maybe then if it would be the case for the lightsabers too. So, and apparently Bo-Katan had like a similar claim too to I think, because I think her full name is Bo-Katan Kryze. I think she comes from Clan Kryze, so that's like her clan, her house, her bloodline. I think because that's her bloodline too. By blood and by choice of weapon, she actually had a claim by blood and ownership of the darksaber. Because her character is actually, for like, her character and her squad are from the actual, I think she's from Star Wars Rebels, I think it is. Because of that, I think, you know, like she has she actually has a history of having wielded the darksaber once before, but then I think maybe she then lost it in combat to Moff Gideon, and then she had to fight for it back, and then she comes back, and then Din has it and everything. But then with her, by her blood and her choice of weapon being the darksaber, I think she actually once kind of had claim and laid claim to the actual throne of Mandalore. But then things in her house didn't really go her way, and the people in her house kind of strayed apart too much, and stuff didn't really end well for her. So I think that kind of history was kind of good to get into. But I think Bo-Katan has a much deeper, much more kind of rooted kind of history with the darksaber and with Mandalorian kind of you know, like legacy and history and to that actual kind of to that actual kind of royalty and everything that she actually once kind of laid claim to the throne and everything. So yeah, that was cool to know. So yeah, so then the Armorer and Paz Vizsla came back, and the Armorer did kind of explicitly state that she's actually rebuilding the covert of perhaps even Mandalorians in any other kind of sect that they kind of work in, but she's looking to rebuild what they lost on Navarro and everything. So that's cool. And Paz Vizsla was besides from the Armorer, Paz Vizsla was actually one of 3 Mandalorian bounty hunters, and one of 3 Mandalorians working, you know, like out of that kind of cave on Navarro. That was actually left. So like one of 3, only 3 of them out of all of them that actually stayed behind to help save Din that day. I think maybe even after any incidents that occurred afterwards, only 3 of them now are left standing. So So Paz Vizsla. So yes, I think to start off with, Paz Vizsla actually healed Din and saved him and actually helped him out and everything. And then afterwards, after finding out that he actually has the Darksaber and finding out that the Darksaber is within his reach, Paz Vizsla's kind of tone and his kind of and like entire kind of being just shifts, and he's like, you know what, that Darksaber is going to be mine because it comes from my family and my bloodline and my past and everything, so it's going to be mine. I'm going to win it from you in combat and everything. So one thing I'm still not entirely sure on is because then it has to be won in combat, but then Din still kind of managed to win it. Well, I actually don't know. I think he did manage to win it in combat, but I don't know. I don't know if he actually was like if in order. I don't know if he actually was meant to kill Moff Gideon to actually try and make it a full victory by combat, or if if it's because maybe if it's like a trial by combat, like a trial. Because a trial by combat usually, I think it usually kind of means to the death. Like usually means to the death. But then I don't know. I don't know if like that's the default, but then if the victor then chooses to spare their enemy, then that can also be a thing. Because then it's clearly Din, spared Moff Gideon's life to much to the armor and Paz Vizsla's dismay, because then he's spilled the Mandalorian blood for years on end, so they were very kind of surprised to hear that Din didn't really kind of take that kind of justice into his own hands and everything, so that was that. But then, of course, when it came to the trial by combat between Din and Paz, then Paz was more than happy to actually actively try and kill him too. So kind of makes you wonder, maybe it's just because of Din actively not choosing as the victor, actively not choosing to slay Moff Gideon there and then, or if he actually did kind of. Because to me, trial by combat can still count as if you disarm your opponent and then actually force them to yield, but then afterwards is your choice if you kill them or if you don't. So then I think maybe even unless to the death is explicitly stated, maybe trial by combat could and probably even should just mean, oh, you fight them and you disarm them, and then if they yield, then they yield. But then if you want to kill them, then you can. It's up to you. But if they yield, then that's when finally that's when you've won. So. But no, with Paz, he was fully, bashing and boshing, Din's Beskar protected head against, all sorts of things, and he was still actually actively trying to kill him and everything, so. And then some even interesting Mandalorian history too, interesting kind of history to the actual kind of culture and kind of, race of Mandalore and 10th Planet Mandalore too. The Night of 1,000 Tears. I think back then when the people of Mandalore kind of different kind of I think it was established in season 2 that there were different kind of sects too, with Mando's one being the one of an older kind of creed that actually swore to keep the helmets on, but then there's one from Bo-Katan and Kree's clan. One where they still, I think that they fight similar or the same kind of missions, and they fight for a similar creed and fight for a similar purpose, but then they're not as strict as actually covering their faces or doing any of that stuff. So I think they're a newer one too, because they called Din and his creed an older sect that subscribe to older rules and everything. So I think similar creeds perhaps, but very similar creeds, but then different actual different rules for those creeds, I think hold on, so similar creeds and similar rules, but then different kind of takes and different beliefs when it comes to those creeds and different kind of ways of actually following those creeds. So they may all well fight for the same stuff solidarity and loyalty and unity and protection and fighting for different things and everything, but then the one thing some of them might differ on is, okay, are you gonna never take off your helmet and never show it on your face, or are you gonna, because then the creed that Mando is the creed that Din was pledged to, swore the oath to be from now on, the only thing anyone ever needs to recognize you by or know you by is your helmet. What's under your helmet doesn't matter, and it shouldn't matter to the people that you come into contact with. Well, the only thing that matters now is your actual helmet and everything. If you take it off, it has to be. I mean, to be fair, I think the creed actually stated you never take it off in front of another living creature, and the first time he did it, it wasn't in front of another living creature. It was in front of the droid in the season 1 finale. I think the droid was the only thing that ever actually saw his his face. So unless you count us as the audience seeing it, but then that obviously doesn't count at all. So that's fine. So I think that one right there is a rule. So I think like on a technicality, I think he can take it off in front of droids because then they're not living creatures. But yeah, so I think it's like on the one hand, it's like no living creature should ever be allowed to see your face for any reason whatsoever. But then also the fact that what's under the helmet doesn't matter and it shouldn't matter. Like the only thing people should ever know you by from now on and recognize you by from now on is your helmet and and your creed and the creed you follow and the creed you inflict onto others as well. So obviously, like, don't go around hurting people. Actually be a good Mandalorian and be a good Mando and everything. And Din is a very good Mando. He's the best Mando. Yeah, so there were those that strayed from the ways of the Mandalorian, and perhaps because Din's creed is the oldest one, perhaps even those that strayed from the original creed and went on to create their own, or went on to kind of adapt into their own kind of creed with similar-ish kind of rules. So there was that whole thing, but then in the kind of midst of all this kind of separation and kind of divisiveness, Imperial interlopers and everything came to Mandalore, saw an opportunity to destroy what was what was divided and what was separated, and then they came by and they just blew Mandalore to Kingdom Come, and it was a massacre and barely anyone survived, and those that did kind of fled almost immediately and everything. So they came by and did their thing. So that was how Mandalore fell. The Night of a Thousand Tears. And I think that sounds pretty accurate. So without a doubt, that'll be much further and more eloquently explored in stuff like other kind of shows or comics or something. So pretty much I think nowadays, every time I watch like an episode of this show, or even if I actually think back to an episode of The Mandalorian, I just kind of think to myself, in addition, I kind of think to myself, wow, this like certain aspects of this episode or this story might make a lot more sense if I actually consumed like the other shows, or if I actually kind of got into the other comic books or something. If I actually consumed more Star Wars stories, then some of the stuff might hit harder, or it might actually kind of make more sense or something. So. And then, of course, following Din's victory in that trial by combat, the Armorer came along with her classic kind of Mandalorian speech of loyalty and divinity and this is the way and all that kind of stuff. And then, of course, came the interrogation, the question that cost Din everything. It cost Din everything. Her asking Paz Vizsla initially, and have you ever taken off your helmet in allegiance with the code, with the creed of Mandalore? Have you ever taken off your helmet? And he's like, nope, I've been a good Mandalorian. I've never taken off my helmet. No living creature has ever seen my face. I've followed our creed down to the T and have never given up for anything. So yeah, I mean, obviously he said a simple no, but no, he has never had it. And then she asked Din the same question, and you could tell Din was just sweating and shitting bricks under the helmet, being like, okay, look, now listen, just listen. Look, we've all had to do things that we didn't want to do. We've all had to make sacrifices that we didn't want to have to make, but, he did it for the good of Grogu. He did it for the good of Grogu and for the good of Grogu kind, so... he did it for Grogu. He almost every time he did it for Grogu. The first time he was taken off by the droid, so it didn't count, not a living creature. And yeah, the other times he did it to save Grogu. The other times he did it for Grogu. He did it for Grogu. He did it on the Imperial place for Grogu to get access to the systems and everything. And then he did it the other time because Grogu wanted to see his face and everything. So. I think the only time he has ever willingly taken it off is for Grogu. I think the first time is the droid needed access to the actual back of his head to apply the back display and everything. So there was that. But then the other times he did it to get to Grogu and he did it for Grogu. So, but regardless, he's done it. I think again, like I said in the reaction back then, he did do it knowing the consequences too. I think deep down he did do it knowing, okay, this is severely breaking Mandalorian code and Mandalorian rules and everything. So one day this may just come back to bite me in the ass, but I need to be prepared to handle that when the time comes. And I think he didn't think it would come so soon. But I think maybe when she asked Paz that question, he knew, oh god, it's coming. My time is coming. This is all tight. It's time to say goodbye to Mandalorian lifestyle now. So he knew, oh, if she's asking him, then she's definitely going to ask me because she needs to ask me. And then he's like, it's like, like him taking so long to answer that question. Like, hey, it's a simple question, Din. It's a simple, really super easy question to ask. So have you ever, gone betrayed the Mandalorian code, and not like betrayed with that amount of severity, but then hey, have you ever actually gone against the Mandalorian code and actually have you ever actually taken off your helmet? And he's like, all right, maybe once, maybe 3 times, maybe 4 times, but who's counting? Who's counting? But no, he said yeah. So it's like, sounds like you're breaking the rules of the Mandalorian oath there, Din. Sounds like you're kind of breaking the code of the creed. Sounds like you're breaking the creed by doing that kind of thing, which is a bit of a no for us over here on Mandalore. So, not really the best kind of thing to do for us. So yeah, no, he had to denounce everything. He was then immediately rejected from the new covert that the armor was just about getting into building up again. So I think that kind of clarification kind of because of the fact that she said she was just about to get into building and to rebuilding the covert with what was left too. I think she needed to actually because it was going to be like a 2.0 of the covert. She needed to know that all the Mandalorians coming into it were actually sworn in from the oath before, and they could actually be trusted too. So then, if they had already followed all the rules before to a T, then she knew that they'd be loyal to the creed again going forward too. So, but then if Mando had actually broken the rule before even once, because she never even asked him how many times. Like I think she never even asked him how many times, but then she knew that if he did it once, then he's even more liable to do it again. Like if she knew how often he actually did it, I'm pretty sure she would have just had like a heart attack on the spot or something, or just even been like or even his rejection then would have been actually that much more harsh too. Like, oh, here I was thinking you only did it once, maybe in like an emergency, which you did, but then you took it off 3 more times for that little green kind of adorable kitty wink. So that would have been then her being like, yeah, no, you're out the creed, get out, go, take your weapons with you, and just just denounce yourself as a Mandalorian. So so yeah, no, that is one hell of like a strict religion too. Like if you break even one of the rules, then you immediately just get kicked out of said religion. And well, we don't know that he's been kicked out of the religion is like entirely. I think he's been, because I think even when it comes to religion, I wonder if maybe, because I think the way he sees it, the one he grew up with is the one that he's more like the one that he's more connected to, and the one that he grew up with is the one that he's more knowledgeable on. So because of that, like but then he knows that Bo-Katan Kryze is still out there with her clan and her sect of Mandalorians too. So then if he, now that he's been rejected from the Armorer's Creed, now like if through some kind of coincidence he's actually happier taking his helmet off whenever he needs to, then he could probably join Bo-Katan too. I think Bo-Katan, I can't really besides from him having the dark saber, I can't really imagine that she'd have too many objections to him joining her and actually being a part of the clan. I mean, because then she'd have like a Mandalorian on her side who she knows is loyal and trustworthy, and he's actually good with his weapons, and he's actually good at what he does. But then it would also mean having the dark saber within reach, having the dark saber near her, so then she'd be able to trust that having that with her on like another Mandalorian would then be good. But then depending on how obsessive she is, then she might also try and take it herself and stuff. But then even then again, trial by combat too, she wouldn't even have to kill him. I doubt she'd even want to kill him, just kind of defeat him in trial by combat, and then he'd be like, you know what, I yield, it's yours, and then she takes it back and stuff happens. But either way, I'm pretty sure. I think if he actually, like, I'm pretty sure now, like, because then I think this definitely kind of changes things for the this definitely changes things going forward for Mandalorian season 3 too, because now he's been actively rejected from the Mandalorian creed that he followed. So now he either has to create a new one of his own, or he has to keep on going his own way, or he has to actually go out there and find, because now he knows that that there are other Mandalorian creeds out there after season 2, so then he might either go find Bo-Katan, or he might find other Mandalorians who are out there from those who fled from the Night of 1,000 Tears, so he might go and find them. So yeah, I think that might be season 3. So then I think that would be an interesting story for him for season 3. So I think season 3, Grogu's off doing his Jedi thing, and now Din is actually out there trying to find more Mandalorians, trying to explore more Mandalorian culture and heritage that he was actually restricted from because of the exclusivity and the kind of because of the kind of kind of isolation from the rest of them, with the creed that he was actually sworn into. So then, like, the creed he was sworn into not only was their own creed, but then they actively kind of, kept away from the other creeds and didn't really kind of clearly didn't educate him on what other creeds there were, because then he didn't even recognize Bo-Katan's one because she took off her helmet and everything. So, one episode's, trash. Not to say it's trash, but I mean trash in terms of what he actually lost, because he had to actually give it up to, he had to actually leave it behind because he broke the rule. So one episode's kind of loss is another season's kind of treasure, so who knows what could happen. So, and I also want to say that little kind of hollow ring planet thing he was on was really cool. I'm pretty sure it's been featured in Star Wars before, because I think almost any time I see something familiar now in Star Wars, I think one of the first things I think is, oh, I actually recognize that from somewhere else, like an entirely different kind of IP within sci-fi that I've actually seen before. But then the second thing I think is, oh, Star Wars is so expansive, there's been so many different kind of iterations and displays of various different things. I'm pretty sure this may as well have been featured in Star Wars before, but just in like a different format. So if you see in live action, might as well have been in comic book form or even animated form or something. So I'm pretty sure that the Hollow Ring planet thing has been featured before. But I think I immediately thought of Halo too, because I'm pretty sure Halo, I think Halo is actually named for the actual kind of Hollow Ring planet that Halo revolves around, and I think that because that's like an actual shape, like an actual Halo. That's what's the thing that I think that's why it's called Halo. So never played Halo. I mean, I think I've played a tiny bit of Halo. I think the online multiplayer, but I think I've never actually played the actual story for Halo, so that one's out of my reach. But I think when I was younger, I played a teeny tiny bit of the online multiplayer, I think in Reach. So there was that. So yeah, but I'm pretty sure Halo revolves around like that same kind of concept of the actual planet being there too. And I think the concept of that too, like an actual hollow ring planet kind of thing, because I mean, I don't know if it's meant to match the actual population or structure of like an actual planet, because even if it is like a giant kind of little kind of hollow circle thing, it's still super narrow. So I think there's only so much you can really fit onto it. So I mean, I do kind of wonder like how they can fit stuff like greenery and water onto it too, like actually having like ocean areas and stuff. But then there's like an actual city thing you can fit onto. I mean, the cities make sense, but then other kind of more landscapey areas kind of still kind of amaze me in terms of how they can actually fit that in, like both in like actual CGI, but then also in the actual fiction of the story itself, like how the people who made it could actually come to put that together onto it too. And clearly kind of gravity works in the same way too, like nothing floats off, everything actually stays within the thing. So I think I wonder then if there's maybe like an actual field of gravity between the actual edges of the kind of thing, like between the edges of the borders of the actual ring too. So maybe like a kind of wall of gravity between it, kind of like keeping everything in place so that nothing actually kind of floats out and everything. So either way, it's super cool to look at. It's really cool to look at, and it's really cool to think about too. And that whole kind of concept of having like an actual hollow ring planet, I think because then it saves on like resources, it saves on space too. Like I mean overpopulation, if you let it happen, then overpopulation could easily be a thing, but I think it's made to be big enough so that you can still. I think it's made to be big enough, and also I think that kind of concept allows for it to be big enough that you could easily also maybe even exceed the kind of population count of like a regular planet, and actually have it designed so that it can actually support larger amounts of people too. So when a planet is suffering from overpopulation, or it can't handle any more life, you could easily move people to an actual hollow planet and actually have them living there, or even actually being there temporarily while stuff is fixed on the actual planet and everything. So either way, it's a really cool thing to think about and look at, and I'm glad they featured in this. I'm really glad they featured in this. So that was cool. And of course, before he left, he did manage to melt down the Beskar spear, because apparently, but also I think it makes sense. Beskar is the only thing that can pierce Beskar. The same with I think vibranium is the only thing that can really withstand adamantium, but then adamantium can also pierce adamantium. Beskar is the only thing that can actually penetrate and pierce and damage Beskar. So having like so I think for that reason, like even the armor saying Beskar was never truly designed to be like an actual. I mean, it works really well as a weapon, but it was never fully designed with being with weaponry in mind. It was actually because of how strong and durable it is. It was actually it was always meant to be designed into defensive kind of kind of parts and everything. So if you turn it into a weapon, then anyone who gets their hands on it and actually understands how Beskar works can easily kind of, power you or something, so and they can easily kill you. So having Beskar as a spear is like a really kind of counterintuitive kind of thing to do. So I mean, yeah, gonna miss the Beskar spear. The Beskar spear, like Din even fought really, really well with it in season 2, and I think, he really took it to some great lengths and everything. So having it around, gonna miss having it around, and gonna miss actually seeing it kind of being hoisted on his back and everything. But they did something even cooler with it. They genuinely did something even cooler with it. Like he then actually wanted it to be melted down and actually turn into a gift for Grogu. He wanted it to be turned into a gift for Grogu. So yeah, then even the armor actually, I think the armor actually learning his name for the first time too. Like, okay, so we'll turn it into a nice kind of Beskar made gift for Grogu and everything. So that was cool. So I was wondering, like, what could they make for Grogu? Because then he's still like a teeny tiny little alien kind of dude, and he's still doing his own thing. So then what could they make? I think maybe again, Beskar dagger, like for Grogu. I think no, he probably ended up stabbing himself with it. He did end up stabbing himself with it, or if he was feeling even more cheeky, he probably ended up actually stabbing someone else with it if they pissed him off. So definitely no weapons for Grogu. But then I am really wondering, maybe like a necklace, maybe if because again, like Din, if he like him going for the little visit was to make sure he was safe. He knew he was going knowing that he wouldn't be able to fully stay with Grogu. So then I'm wondering if because then afterwards, like in the actual kind of montage of showing them remodeling it into something else after having melted it down, I think they did kind of show like it having different kind of chain links and everything. So I'm wondering maybe if they actually did make him like a necklace, or maybe even make him like chain mail, maybe like actually making him like a chain mail shirt or something, or like a chain mail kind of armor piece to wear under his clothes. So even if his normal robes get pierced or something, but then his, like, if someone tries to blast him or something, then it goes to his clothes, but then the Beskar protects him perfectly. So maybe actually, they could easily make it. They could do for him what they can't do for Din because they don't have the right amount of Beskar for it. They could easily make an actual full Beskar bodysuit that could easily perfectly cover. It probably look like a t-shirt, like a onesie or something. But they could easily make an actual full Beskar bodysuit for Grogu. So he would literally be impervious to almost any attack, like to any blade attacks, any blaster attacks, anything. He'd be impervious to them, and he also has the Force on his side too that he's learning from Luke. So he can easily force choke someone whilst awesomely deflecting blaster shots, just like his dad and everything. So it would work. It would so work. So yeah, that would be super cool. So that would be super cool. And I think, of course, I think I didn't even notice until the very last shot, and until the last shot of it that they actually showed us, where the bag itself was actually shaped like his head, and then the actual kind of bow thing that he tied it into was shaped like Grogu's ears, actually pointing out all floppy and stuff. Like, I hadn't even noticed it until I don't know if they actually made it. I think. I'm wondering if that's because they actually didn't really make it that explicit, or like actually show it that kind of purposefully until the end, or if it's because I just genuinely didn't really catch on to it until the very end. But then at the very end, like, I think the more I actually looked at the bag and the little kind of side pieces, laying on the side like ears and everything, I was like, oh, that actually looks like Grogu. Oh, okay, that's a really great way to go then. So yeah, it was super sweet. Yeah, I think another one of my favorite parts was yeah, before we get to that, another one of my favorite parts, him actually taking the kind of space, like a commercial space flight to Tatooine as well, like him having to actually unload all of his weapons, like that one scene of him actually unloading all of his weapons, actually taking out his daggers and his blaster and his servo rockets and and even putting the dark saber in there too, like him being like, please don't lose this, and actually telling the droid, like, I know everything that is in this box. If you lose so much as one item, you'll be getting the biggest, most severe complaint you've ever received in your life. So, yeah, it reminded me so much. It reminded me so much of Shadow and Bone when Inej has to meet Helene and shit, and Helene and just actually unload all of her knives and her daggers and her all of her weapons, and she has just so many weapons in different crevices and pockets and sleeves and all sorts of different things. So that was really cool. So he rode the kind of commercial space flight to Tatooine, and he was sat behind a kid. I think that kind of thing is so relatable to anyone who's actually been on public transport with children too. Like, children are the most kind of inquisitive and curious kind of, little beings ever. Like, they just immediately kind of like see someone sat behind them on on a plane or a train or a bus or whatever, and they're just immediately kind of just gawking at you and just, you know, sort of like looking at you so wondrously and looking at you with like such curiosity and everything. So with this one, you know, he actually had like an alien kid actually staring back at him, actually waving his sort of hand and everything. So yeah, and then of course after that you realize, oh, it's actually it's cute and funny to begin with, but then after that you realize, oh, he's like you know, having like a little green child, you know, waving at him and staring back at him, kind of probably reminded him a bit of Grogu, and then he misses Grogu again. So plenty of Mando and Grogu feels in this episode. So then he gets to Mos Eisley. He gets to the hangar where Peli Motto is working, and she's still there. She's still there with her droids, and she's still building stuff and doing stuff, and she's still being super cool. So yeah, so then apparently she sent him a message too, saying that she actually found him a replacement ship for the Razor Crest. So not a replacement Razor Crest, but she got him a replacement for the Razor Crest. So yeah, and it's a very different ship. It's a very, very different ship. I've been online and I've seen people actually kind of calling that and making various kind of like actually calling out various references surrounding that scene to pod racing in Star Wars Episode 1 as well, like to the Phantom Menace, like Anakin being the one to actually build his own pod race. I mean with that one, I think with those ones back then, I think they actually had like cables attaching the different kind of engines to the main kind of pod, and they had to do all sorts of other mechanical shit and everything, but with this one, I think with this one it's like a lot more solidified. It's like all one mechanical kind of body piece and everything. So with this one, it's like no cables, no kind of energy kind of cables or physical cables actually attaching them. It's just like literally one solidified and connected kind of body piece and everything. So that's cool, but I think people were still calling out references to it, so that was cool. I kind of recognized them. I think thinking back to it now, because people called them pod races, and that now I'm wondering, because I'm pretty sure I called them speed races the entire episode. So I think I think the speeders were the ones that Boba was driving in episode 2, and the speeders were what Boba taught the Tuskens how to ride in episode 2. So I think those are speeders. But then I think I called these ones speed races because I thought these ones were specifically for racing, like what Anakin did back in episode 1. But then that was clearly pod racing too. I think that one because you're in a pod connected to engines, and then you're actually racing them around and doing that kind of stuff. So then I guess I was wrong with my speed racing, like my constant speed racer labeling. So I guess these are actually pod races. I mean, well, those were pod races, but I think with this one, I think you still have the pod and you still have the engines. I think maybe this could count as like, you know, an upgraded kind of pod racer. So maybe still, but it was an N1 starfighter, a pre-Empire ship as well, so it wouldn't really show up on any kind of New Republic records or anything. So he could still kind of like similarly kind of fly under the radar with this one too, so that was cool. And I think also this one is significantly and obviously a lot more snug too. Like I think the Razor Crest also kind of worked in kind of like in tandem with being like an actual gunship. It also actually worked as like an actual kind of travel ship too. So I think so as a travel ship too. So it actually worked in a way that, you know, like Mando could actually eat and sleep and work on the Razor Crest too. There was room space for him and Grogu to actually take shelter in. So, you know, it was a much bigger ship, and it was actually, you know, fit for different purposes too. Like not necessarily multiple purposes, but then fit for more purposes than just kind of being like a gunship. So, you know, it will be sorely missed. But with this one, it was actually meant to be much faster. Like with this one being like an actual kind of pod race or a speed race or whatever, it was meant to be much faster and much more like, maybe not agile. I mean, depending on how well you yourself can actually handle the craft itself, it was meant to be more agile, so there was that. But it was meant to be like an actual like a more kind of high tech kind of warcraft and everything. So it was actually like significantly faster, but then also kind of like the handling could also kind of like take some getting used to, and actually need some work and some good hands to really control and get a handle on it. No pun intended. So there was that. And I think she mentioned it was like ordained or designed or like it had some kind of credit or some kind of acknowledgement paid by the Queen of Naboo. So I think, if I'm thinking correctly, that would be Padme, right? Because I think this is meant to be pre-Empire too. This is actually meant to be pre-Empire. So I think, you know, Queen of Naboo, that would have to be Padme Amidala, right? I mean, if there's one thing I know, is that Padme Padme is served as the Queen of Naboo during the prequels, and that was pre-Empire. That was definitely pre-Empire. Because I think Empire stuff, I'm pretty sure, like, Empire was actually was original trilogy, so, you know, that was pre-Empire. So I think if it was, like, ordained or credited or whatever by the Queen of Naboo, that had to be a Padme. So that is super cool, having, like, an actual Padme, like an actual prequels reference as well. I think, not to say it's the only one that's been in the show or even in The Mandalorian, but still, that one of all is a pretty sweet kind of prequels reference to have, so that was pretty cool. So yeah, I think I think assuming this is the ship that Din takes with him into the Mandalorian season 3 too, it's gonna be really interesting seeing how he actually handles it with this too. Because then, you know, like because we had the Razor Crest for like a decent chunk of season 1 and season 2, and I think it kind of definitely made its mark as the ship of the Mandalorian. So I think it's gonna be interesting seeing how just how differently he operates with the N1 stuff. I like what he calls it too, because again, you know, the Razor Crest was I think the Razor Crest itself I think also was like I'm trusting the Razor Crest was like the name that he, I think, because I think Razor Crest, I mean, Razor Crest, I don't know if that's actually like an actual type of starship or if it's actually just the name he gave it, because I think so far we've had like Fire Spray gunship, we've had N1 Starfighter, Millennium Falcon is also like I think the name of that ship, but then it's not exactly what that ship actually is in itself. So that's not the type of ship it is. I think that's just the name that's been given to it. Like, so I don't know. And then you got like X-wing. X-wing is like the actual X on the wing, and then TIE fighters, it looks like an actual freaking bow tie or whatever. So you got that. So I think, yeah, I'm kind of curious as to as to what he's gonna call the N1 Starfighter besides from the actual Starfighter. So don't know what he's gonna call it. So yeah, I think it'll be cool to actually see him develop and grow with the ship in season 3 and actually naming it something badass and watching him do some really cool stuff with it. Peli Motto said that the actual kind of I mean, for one thing, she said she dated a Jawa. Almost the entire episode, I think. From that point onwards, I was constantly questioning in my mind. I didn't know whether to ask it out to actually ask it out loud or not in the reaction. But I think I'm not necessarily judging, but that, I mean, Jawas are meant to be actual furry kind of creatures, right? Like they're not meant to be humans. Like they're actually meant to be furry little kind of creatures, like little bears or little kind of, you know, other kind of mammals or something. So to me, that kind of rings like some Rule 34 stuff or some kind of, like, you know, bestiality kind of thing going on. So again, I mean, I'm trying not to judge, but then I mean, I really don't know what else to take from a sentence like that she used to date a Jawa. I mean, well, dating, you can have dating without any actual kind of, you know, sexual stuff going on. So I think it could easily just be her dating a Jawa without actually banging any Jawas. So yeah, I think that would be the one exemption. So it could still work. So I think even then, I think and then I mean, in this instance too, I think that there's no guarantee as to what exactly it is that she's constituting as dating, because then knowing what their partnership already is like too, I think, you know, for all we know, dating could just as easily mean that she actually kind of, you know, showed some loyalty and dedication to a Jawa in exchange for parts. So then maybe then dating for them isn't like romantic or sweet or anything like the dating conventionally is seen as, but rather it's just her actually working to keep up her end of a deal in exchange for like some parts, and then maybe like a Jawa feeling overly loved or overly kind of attended to and stuff. So maybe that's just like what the dating is, and definitely no sexual stuff. So I don't know, but either way, that kind of, I think the sentence itself and the actual delivery of that line is concerning enough to raise some concerns at first glance. But then I think once you start to think about it, maybe there are actually other possibilities involved that, you know, really don't fall under, you know, like regular human implications of the phrase. So yeah, I guess that's Star Wars. But yeah, I don't know. But either way, I think, you know, the even more kind of the even more surprising thing, we had cooperative Jawas, and I think, truth be told, I think knowing the Jawas too, I think, but again, because of the fact that she said, like, you know, she doesn't ask any questions, and they don't tell her anything that she doesn't need to or want to know. So, like, you know, she just kind of makes a deal, and then they do the thing, and they get her the parts they want, and then there's like a great partnership in like within those kinds of boundaries. So because of that, I really don't think they're going the same way with the Jawas as they did with the Tuskens. I mean, with the Jawas, I think they're not necessarily evil or anything like that. I think the Jawas just mug you, and then they're just kind of like really kind of greedy and selfish, and they just kind of double cross you, and they're just kind of like they're just basically like they're just there kind of like looking out for themselves essentially. So with the Jawas, I feel like I think. No one really. I feel like no one really. Everyone gets pissed off at them, but I think no one really kind of hates them to that extent. Like, I think Jawas are never truly like vilified or anything. I think like Jawas are only ever really kind of like Jawas are only ever really kind of seen as like pests at worst. I think I'm not really sure that they're ever really kind of seen as villains or evil kind of monsters or anything like that. So I really don't think that they're going down the same kind of humanization kind of arc as the Tuskens did in the beginning of the season. So. Yeah, but either way, they're really cooperative. I think that alone is a plus. They're kind of they're willing to kind of like make trades and make deals and do kind of things for Peli as well. I think that one Jawa that actually really had a thing for Peli was probably the one that she dated. So that was the whole thing. But either way, they were really cooperative, and they found the most kind of surprising items in the most surprising places. So having Mando and Peli and the Jawas actually having Mando and Peli and the droids and the Jawas actually working together to actually kind of to finalize the finishing touches on his ship and actually fix it up again was really, really cool. So that was some fun stuff. So I do wonder if like maybe, I mean, obviously I think they brought him back in a way that makes sense, and they brought him back for like a quick and cool kind of cameo. But then at the same time, I can't help but wonder, like, maybe if his return as well is showing that the New Republic is still out there, and they've obviously recruited, and they obviously got some other pilots too, because I think did this one, his partner wasn't played by Dave Filoni, so I think that this one was obviously like a new fighter pilot. So I think that could be like that could be somewhat of like an indication that they actually recruited other pilots too. So maybe that's like even the tiniest of hints towards like an actual kind of is it called? I think Rangers of the New Republic. I think Rangers of the New Republic kind of series kind of coming into thing, because I think obviously like if it was going to go forward with Cara Dune still involved, then it probably wouldn't. It very, very likely wouldn't go forward with Gina Carano as Cara Dune for obvious reasons. But then they could very easily recast the character and actually bring someone else in and actually make it still be a thing. So I'm wondering maybe if they did bring him back and also change up his partner to show that this guy is still around, and he's also got like a new partner, showing the New Republic is still recruiting other pilots and finding whoever they can to help fight for the new cause. And then maybe actually showing that these guys are still out there, they're still doing their thing, and that kind of stuff is still happening in the background. So maybe it's actually still possible somewhere down the line, and maybe they can actually still do something with it. So I don't know. I guess in time we'll find out. See exactly how fruitful that cameo was, and if it's going to lead into something. But even if not, it was still really cool to see them back again. So that was fun. And yeah, again, hats off to Bryce Dallas Howard. She brought this episode in through flames. She literally brought this episode in, and it was on fire the entire time. This is just God. And again, I think, I don't feel weird saying, because again, I enjoyed this episode a bit more so because it's a Mandalorian episode too, and I love the Mandalorian. But I think also because I think my experience so far watching Boba Fett too has been like, I'm watching Boba Fett knowing that even outside of his minute, even at like he had like a minute kind of presence in the original trilogy, and then his backstory and his history were expanded upon in the prequels, and the prequels I've seen and everything. And I think like Boba Fett himself has actually been featured in stuff outside of the movies too. Like he's been in comic books. I think he's been in the holiday special. He's been in the comic books. He's been into so many other stories that have actually expanded upon his character and provided people with a lot more material and a lot more canon to consume. So then people coming into this, having read that stuff, will have like a different experience and like a more fleshed out experience, and actually understanding his character and his adaptation that much better and everything. So there's that whole thing. But then I think me watching Boba Fett has been like very much from the eyes and the mind of like a casual viewer, like someone who still loves Star Wars. Don't get me wrong. I think I still love Star Wars despite how little I actually know about the expanded universe and the expanded lore and the expanded material and everything. But then that kind of stuff I'm kind of like looking forward to actually exploring in my own time at my own pace, and not kind of wanting to rush into it or anything. I feel like there's also like a time and a place to get into everything too. Like if you try and get into everything all at once, then it's gonna boggle your mind and nothing's really gonna make sense. But if you actually, I do definitely kind of watch it conscious and aware of the fact that, you know, if I want to understand a lot more of the stuff that goes on, then I definitely have to consume the other media that comes with it. So all in good time, all in good time. But regardless, Boba Fett has been great to watch, and I think having Mando on here too, undeniably a boost that I think, and like an episode that will undoubtedly get like a lot more people talking, like people who, you know, probably do favor Mandalorian over Boba Fett for their own reasons, and that's perfectly fine too. But yeah, that is all I've got. So that was the Book of Boba Fett, Season 1, Episode 5, Chapter 5, The Return of the Mandalorian. So thank you guys, as always, so much for being here and for watching this video. If you guys enjoyed it, then absolutely feel free to leave a like and comment what your thoughts are on this episode, and any kind of theories you have, any hopes you have for the finale, and any kind of thoughts you have on this episode, how you feel about any thoughts you have, any feelings you have about Mandalorian returning for this, and how you felt about it, and how you've kind of felt about Book of Boba Fett so far, and anything else, any recommendations you have, any kind of, you know, things you know, would you know, kind of like any kind of like, you know, comics or anything you kind of recommend me getting into to better understand Boba Fett and his story and his past and everything. Always welcome, always welcome. So there's that. If you guys want the full length reaction, then that one will be over on Patreon, so you can go check that over there too. That'll be fun. And yeah, that is pretty much it. So until next time, bye bye for now.